everybody. My name's Chris. I'm with Campus Mission. I'm actually the coordinator for Campus Mission, which is an outreach to college and university students from the Church of the Nazarene. And I'm here today with Premal. And in just a second, Premal's going to introduce himself and just tell us a little bit about where he's at and the ways in which he's engaging with college ministry. But hey, Premal, tell us just a little bit about where you're at, what you're doing, how, and how that came to be.
Hi, everyone. And this is the way in India we greet. We say namaste. We hold hands together and we say namaste. So namaste, Chris, and namaste to all the viewers. My name is Premal, Awasarmal, kind of a tough name for many. So I'm from India. Actually, me and my family in 2015 came to US to do my master's in theology from Kansas City Nazarene Theological Seminary. I got graduated in 2017. And from 2017 till today, I'm in Texas, in Arlington. And I work with West Texas District Church of the Nazarene to minister to the Asian Indian community in DFW area. So this is a short introduction about me. I have a beautiful wife and 2 children. My daughter is 15 and my son is 9. They both go to a Nazarene Christian Academy, which is in Fort Worth. So we are in Arlington, Texas at this moment.
Awesome. And it's Nathan and Natalie?
You're right. Natalie and Nathan, yes.
Yeah. And they're 9 and 14.
9 and 14. And my wife, Kavita.
You don't have to tell us her age.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kavita's awesome. So she's been an integral part of your ministry. And I know we'll get into more of that here in a moment. So awesome. You're in Arlington, which for people who don't know, you're sandwiched right between Dallas and Fort Worth, right?
You are right.
Kind of.
Like 30 minutes both way. If you want to go to Dallas, 30 minutes. If you want to go to Fort Worth, 30 minutes. Yep.
Yeah. Tell us about how you created the ministry, because I think a lot of people in our Nazarene world, partnering with a district to reach a campus is a good idea and a good model sometimes. It's not always the right model everywhere. But in this case, the district very much had a vision to reach, Asian, Indian, individuals, and maybe, I don't know if that started as a campus ministry idea or it was just, hey, there's a large Asian Indian community here and we should be, reaching them, creating a church or a ministry or something like that. Maybe tell us just a little bit more about how the district came up and you guys partnered with this idea to do this.
Well, thanks, Chris, for asking that question because that's very important. In 2015, when we came to do my master's in theological studies, our goal was to finish the seminary and to go back to India because there was so much to do. Before coming to seminary, me and my wife Kavita, we used to work with Youth with a Mission. So we always used to be very close to the youth ministry all the time in our life. So that was the plan, to go back in India and to work with the Church of the Nazarene among the youths. But we always were open for the Lord to show us what is His plan. I mean, that was our plan. So 2016, in a board meeting at NTS, the president at that time, Dr. Carla Sundberg, was the president of NTS, and her office asked me if I can share a testimony in front of the board members of the NTS. And I said that will be a privilege. So I shared the testimony in front of the board members. And we also got a privilege to have a dinner with them. At the dinner table, I was seated with Dr. David Downs, who is the West Texas District Superintendent. And he said, Premal, I'm very encouraged to listen to your testimony. And he asked me, what's your next plan? And at that time in 2016, I was like, okay, we are going back to India. Maybe that's what our plans are. But we are always open for the Lord if He wants us to stay back here or anywhere in the world. So Dr. Downs shared a need that we are praying that to start an Asian Indian ministry in DFW area. And he gave me a statistic saying that there are around 75,000 Asian Indians just in the DFW area.
Mm.
And the Church of the Nazarene doesn't have any exclusive ministry going on among them. We may have Indians in the churches, but not a ministry among them. So
Yeah.
to answer your question, actually, the district was having a vision to start a ministry among the Asian Indians, not necessarily among the campus ministry, or we were not hoping at that time that it will turn into a campus ministry. So we took like 6 months to pray. Dr. Downs and my family, we were in touch with each other. And when we visited for 4 days in DFW area, we specifically went to the UTA campus, the University of Texas-Arlington. And as soon as we entered the campus, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps right now when I'm sharing this. I always get that because when we went that day to this campus, I saw right and left, there were Asian Indian students walking. And like I felt a heavy burden, to come and minister to them. That was the starting point. And when I say a heavy burden, it was something like the Lord was kind of speaking to me and my family that who will reach out to them, who will share the gospel to them, and they need you. They need Jesus. So they need to hear the gospel. So we prayed and we said to Dr. Downs that we are coming to Texas. So that was the point that where we came to Texas.
Yeah, and I just love that a district, and a district superintendent and leadership had the vision to say, "Hey, we don't know." I mean, I'm assuming that they probably thought we don't know exactly what this is going to look like, but we definitely feel like, there's a need here. And so let's explore. And I like the idea of, praying for 6 months. Sometimes people try to do college ministry sometimes and just bring like some idea or something and just plop it down and try to do it without really taking time to pray and what I sometimes call exegeting the campus, exegeting the community,
Yes.
figuring out the context and just see where God's leading. So tell us, so once you started thinking, hey, here's a campus and here's, there's 75,000 Asian Indians in the community, the area. And then on the campus, I think there's a pretty high percentage of Asian Indian students who are part of that international student population at UTA, right?
Yeah.
3,000 or so students?
Exactly. I mean, the number keeps growing up every semester because there are 2 semesters. So every semester you will see at least a fresh batch of 1,000 students coming and adding into it. So if you take the average, there are around 4,000 Asian Indian students studying in the UTA campus. Now in Dallas, we have another university, University of Texas, Dallas, and they also have a similar number in that campus. So a lot of Indian students come to study to UTA. I think so because the fee structure is very affordable to maybe most of the Indians. And adding to the previous question, actually, I am so thankful to our West Texas district because initially they brought us here to start a church among kind of a traditional church where you will have families, children. But in 1 year or 1.5 years, when I talked with my district superintendent, who is such a visionary leader, Dr. David Downs, I told him that this ministry is not looking like a traditional church type of ministry. It's looking like a campus ministry. Do you still think that we should continue doing this? Because we really don't want to disappoint the district because they were hoping to start a kind of a church ministry. And hear what Dr. Downs says to me. He says, Premal, you are reaching out to people. That's important for us. So whether it is families or children or campus students, we are happy to support you and we will be behind you in this ministry. So I think so. The lot of credit goes to the district because they are so much visionary to reach out to their students.
Yeah. What's cool to me too about this is, there's definitely a good overlap between basically church planting and campus ministry. And I think a lot of people have tried this where they try to do church planting from the approach of, well, let's create a missional community of students on a campus setting. And, over time, those students are going to graduate. Some are going to stay and live in the area. They're going to have families. They're going to have a network of relationships. Let's plant a church after we have some relational investment. So anyway, I think that's a great model of let's connect, do campus ministry, and then basically plant a church out of that, which is kind of what you're doing, because you guys have a church now that you're, tell us a little bit more about that, how it's progressing from campus ministry to church, or it's very integrated. The other exciting piece for me is that means here's a church that part of its DNA is going to be reaching college students. And
Yes.
and to me, that's another exciting thing about this model, this approach to ministry. But tell me a little bit about, because Maya Jivan means new life, right? And that's the name
Yes.
of your church?
Yes. Yeah. So, being in mission for 20 years, I have me and my wife Kavita has learned one thing: to do a church planting or to pioneer a church, you need to find like which is the best way that the church can get started. So we felt in this context that the campus ministry is really good, and through campus ministry, we are reaching out to students. We are reaching out to their parents also in India. So last 2 years before, when I visited India, we visited a few parents of these students. So our church is Naya Jivan, is very much I would say in touch with the families also now. And even in DFW area, there are Indian families who are hearing about this ministry, and they wanted to be a part of this ministry now. And they're asking us like how we could help you. And maybe they go to a different church, and they are good believers, they are Christians, and we don't want them to come from their church to our church. But what Naya Jivan does is we coordinate with even our Christian believers, friends in the DFW area, to help us to reach out to the student ministry. So basically, we have a student ministry which helps us to meet other Indian Christians in our area, to tell us more about how the campus student needs you, needs a family, needs a home, how you can be helpful to us. And we also have few families who doesn't go to any church. So this could be maybe their church for them to help us. They have not. We don't have a Sunday service at this moment because of the pandemic. We used to have a Sunday fellowship also, along with the Friday fellowship.
So tell us a little bit more about the Friday Home Fellowship. I know that like hospitality and service was basically a big part of helping you figure out what is the way in which we want to engage students. So Friday Home Fellowship, that's where Kavita's cooking comes in, right?
Yes, very, very backbone of this ministry. Let me start with this. When to pioneer a campus ministry, always we need to have a heart for campus life or campus students, for sure. That's where everything starts.
Yeah.
So me and Kavita, after dropping our children to school, we had the whole time to go into the nearby campus, which is the UTA campus. So we used to go around and we used to do a prayer walk. And we used to do a lot of prayer around the campus because we didn't know one single student at that time. This was in 2017. Then slowly and steadily, I always use the model from the scripture. If you go to Acts chapter 8, and there is a passage 26 to 40 where Philip is reaching out to an Ethiopian eunuch in a desert. And I always follow that pattern because you can learn from that passage so many, evangelical, lessons. And, in Philip, when he ran and he caught that chariot, he initiated the talk with the Ethiopian eunuch. So I always say, if you want to do any type of ministry, but especially if you want to start a campus ministry, you need to make friendship. You need to initiate the communication. If you go on the campus, none of the student is going to talk to you. I'm not throwing a blanket statement. Some may talk, but 99%, I will say, the students are in their own thing. They are going from one class to another. They may have a break. They are eating something. I'll share you one example. I just happened to talk with one of the students who was having a break and he was having his lunch. And it was something like, for me, feeling a little bad that I want to talk to him during his lunch break, but he was interested to talk to me. So I just started asking him some questions. Hey, are you from India? And he said, yeah. And then I started saying to him, which state are you from India? And then that's how we made friendship with him.
Yeah.
Later on, we started taking students to the nearby Indian restaurants. This particular friend that I talked to him during the lunchtime, me and Kavita, we took him I think so the next week we took him to an Indian restaurant. And he said, after 2 months, I'm eating full because he just came from India 2 months ago and he was missing homemade food. And when we took him to that restaurant, he said, after 2 months, I'm eating full. That's where Kavita and even I felt like we should start cooking food for them. Yeah. And then Kavita said, I'll be happy to cook food for these students, because I asked her, is it okay if I call them at our house to for a meal, for a lunch or for a dinner? And Kavita said, I'll be happy. So that's where me and Kavita started cooking food for them on Fridays. And we started inviting students. I'll tell you, Chris, just in 2 or 3 months, our group from 1 to it went to like 20, 25, and students started coming to our house.
Man, I'm a firm believer in this kind of idea of what I sometimes call radical hospitality, which is not necessarily radical, but really good hospitality that is basically, sometimes we think hospitality that's like coffee and donuts at church on Sunday morning, but hospitality is really treating strangers as family, and it's bringing them into your home. And we've done this in Cincinnati in my ministry with coffee, as well as with what we call slow food. Sometimes people bring youth ministry ideas into campus ministry and think, oh, we should just order a bunch of pizzas for college students. Well, that's fine sometimes, but I mean, home cooked food, especially for students who are so far from home and their culture and the food they know from home. So I just love that you guys really started with that hospitality idea, in building relationships and connecting with students, and then kind of seeing relationships and conversations and all that stuff kind of grow out of that. I guess here's a question I would have. Maybe somebody is at a church and they're listening to this and thinking, well, what are some of the first steps? Like, what do I do if I want to start a ministry to students? Maybe their church is close to a campus and they think, hey, we should start doing something like that. What are some things you learned or whatever? And I would say, well, the first thing you talked about was the prayer walk. And I really think that's the best first step for anybody that thinks they want to reach a campus, is prayer walk the campus. And not just once, probably, spend a good bit of time praying and just seeing what God does. But have there been some other things that you would tell other churches or other people wanting to do what you're doing? Like, here are some good strategies or ways to start.
Cool. I have sent you, Chris, a draft which has 20 bullet points of how to start a campus ministry based on our experiences. And you can share it with whoever is interested to start a campus ministry. I think so. The first 4 or 5 I have already shared about prayer walk and making friendship. But I would suggest, like, the way that we did was we used to be on the campus a lot, like, just spending more time on the campus. That opens a whole lot of doors, because sometimes we use a model or formula, but sometimes it doesn't work. So the best thing is be on the campus as much as you can. If you have a heart, as I always mention that thing first, you need to have a heart for campus ministry. Once you have that heart, that means you will be going on the campus on a regular basis. When you go on the campus on the regular basis, there are 2 different things in the campus ministry. Now, you also need to know specifically, are you called to be ministering to the international students or in general? Because this is a very important point, Chris. I'm seeing a lot of campus ministries are struggling because they have staff members who think that campus ministry is same for all the students on the campus, but it's not the case. When you have huge campuses like UTA, where you have 45,000 students studying, you need to be specific to whom you are reaching out. So, for example, some of the campus ministry reach out the same way how they reach out like to the general campus students, like the local campus students. But if you want to reach out to the international student, you need to, I think so, be a little more trained to how to reach out to the international students, because there is a cultural issue. There is a lot of traditional issues which are attached. So, for example, Asian Indian students. If you want to reach out to an Asian Indian students, the first thing is you have to start with friendship and ask them who they are and where they come from, because you cannot immediately share gospel to them. You may do that, but it's not going to affect. And when we started ministering to our Asian Indian students, this is coming from our Asian Indian students. They say that a lot of churches come to us, knock at the door, and they give us a book, or they give us Bible. They give direct, like, no, they say, hey, we want to tell you about Jesus. And these students tells to me that we feel very offended by this activity. We don't tell them on their face, but we also don't want to meet them next time.
Yeah.
So you can see that we as a Christian, we may do our job. We may say, oh, I have shared gospel to 10 people today. But my point is, okay, you have shared gospel, but those 10 people are more offended by your activity just because you have directly gone to them and shared the gospel. Instead of that, if you want to do a long-term ministry, you first have to make friendship. You have to talk to them. You have to get to know with them. I have a very good friend on the campus. I mean, not she doesn't live on the campus, but this couple minister to the international students, and they make friendship. They ask them how I can help you. Like, for some students may have a dental issue, and they may ask you, like, no, where I can find a good dental hospital or clinic, how you can help me. So those kind of things, when you start helping them, the trust is built, and when the trust is built, then you share the gospel. It is so effective that they will say, please tell us more about this Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's my experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, just the emphasis. And I think that applies not just to international student ministry, but with college students in general. We ought to be, really building relationships and getting to know students, and then just kind of, walking with them and, sharing the gospel with our lives. But anyway, well,
Yeah.
this is good stuff. I'm so glad we got a chance to talk here, and I am going to link to that document you shared. I'll put that in the kind of the show notes here down in the bucket, the YouTube bucket, where people can click on that link if they want to look at your strategies for basically how to launch a campus ministry. I really appreciate you and Kavita and your calling and your family, and am just super excited about what's happening there, and I'm excited to see that approach to ministry grow and multiply as we continue to help just kind of advocate for college ministry and outreach across the US and Canada through campus mission. So thanks again, Premal, for chatting with us. Again, we'll have some links down there if you want to reach out to Premal. I know he speaks sometimes at churches and Faith Promise and some things like that, and shares about their ministry, and that could be a great opportunity for some districts or churches out there if they want to reach out to Premal and have him share more about this ministry. So, all right. Well, thanks, Premal. You take care out in Texas. Hopefully we'll see you soon.
Thank you. You too, Chris. Take care, and thank you for having me on your this YouTube channel. And it was good. And as you said, anyone want to contact me, I mean, email is there, and you can always be in touch with us. We love to. Thank you.